like, that says it all pretty much right there, because love is everything. I mean, the world revolves around love, and if it's love for your family, your wife, or your husband, or your kids.
In the history of country music worldwide, you cannot mention a few names without giving kudos to the living legend who has shaped the genre of country music into what it is today. George Strait's dominance and reign in the music industry are not without tears and scars. However, over the years, he has proven worthy and deserving of every honor he commands. It is safe to say George's musical career has been phenomenal and breathtaking to ignore. However, amidst the iconic display of talent and vocal prowess, he has faced his share of ups and downs in his personal life and family. Truth has finally surfaced, confirming the rumors flying around. Take a deep breath and let's look at the life of George Strait and the truth surrounding the life of his son at 44. Early life and parental connection. George Harvey Strait, the legendary country singer, was born on May 18, 1952, at Schatz Memorial Hospital in Poteet, Texas. Brought up with a simple life, he was the son of the couple John Byron Strait and Doris Jean Kusser. Growing up, he was mentored along the lines of truth in a place called Pearsall, Frio County, where his father was a renowned junior high school mathematics teacher and the owner of a 2,000-acre cattle ranch outside of Big Wells, Texas. It was always fun for George to play around the ranch, coupled with the fact that his family had a weekend and summer routine of working tirelessly on the ranch. Everything was at its best for George until the unseemly happened. When he was in the 4th grade, the devastating news of divorce hit the family, leaving the couple with no option but to go their separate ways. His mother, whose opinions were a bit different from his father's, decided to move out with his sister Pensy, leaving George and his brother John Buddy under the tutelage of their father. Undeterred by the recent happenings in his family, George and his brother reignited the bond they once had, fine-tuning it into one of perfection. Comfortably, they both grew up finding solace in the power of ranching together with their father. They never complained. Life was as good as anyone could imagine for the young George and his elder brother John Buddy. George's musical prowess, as we know it today, began while attending Pearsall High School. Poised with an unexplainable love for music, he joined a spectacular rock and roll garage band known as the Stoics, and together they performed various songs in high school. It was noted that the Stoics' phenomenal performance stemmed from the inspiration and influence they occasionally drew from a group called the Beatles and other British invasion-era rock groups that had an extraordinary prodigy for music. Strait's acknowledgement of listening to the Beatles and other popular groups back then proves his love for these groups, which spearheaded his lineage in country music. George not only performed with the Stoics, but soon became a sensation in the entire school, performing with several other rock bands. His taste for music grew bountifully, and before anyone knew what was happening, George had streamlined his passionate love for different genres of music to that of country. This drew him closer to country singers like Hank Thompson, Lefty Frizzle, Merle Haggard, George Jones, Bob Wills, Hank Williams, and the irreplaceable Frank Sinatra, all driving him into a deep connection with country music. As he had always affirmed, his youthful love for country music was not a product of constant listening to country music on radio stations, but of a plethora of live performances that he had heard from neighboring streets and towns in Texas. Gradually, it became a full-blown attribute of his, and as he grew, he couldn't deny but pursue that route. George Strait was not just a lover of music, but also a fearless advocate of knowledge. Shortly after, he was honorably discharged from the U.S. In the 1975, he pursued higher education by enrolling at Southwest Texas State University, headquartered in San Marcos. This was one of his long-held desires while in the U.S. Army, and indeed, he followed it with everything he had. His efforts were finally rewarded, and by the end of his schooling, he was awarded a degree in agriculture. This was an added advantage for him because from childhood, he had loved the ranching experience. On May 26, 2006, at a private ceremony, George again received an honorary doctoral degree from his alma mater, Texas State University in San Marcos. In 1985, Strait, in a more relatable manner, expressed his love for agriculture and all its related activities by establishing an endowment fund that caters to the wholesome development and timely operation of the Freeman Ranch for agricultural purposes, land, and wildlife management. This wasn't all. The scheme was also responsible for administering scholarships. You couldn't deny that George is still an alumnus of that great college, time and again, and his actions are significantly affiliated with them in varying degrees. Musical breakthrough. George had a vibe for music he didn't want to die in his hands, and occasionally he validly sought opportunities that would give him leverage to showcase his innate talent. While he was still in college, he had a useful affiliation with one of the most prestigious bands, Stony Ridge, which responded to a notice that the band had made through flyers and handbills. At that time, they were looking for a new vocalist, and just as luck shone on Strait, he soon became a band member. It wasn't long before the band had a new face to the public, as George beautifully renamed it Ace in the Whole Band, of which he was the leader at the time. Soon, they began to gain recognition around their neighborhood, and within a very short time, the band toured their area, performing at different bars around South and Central Texas. Subsequently, they were no longer stuck in one place. Their playing style garnered spectators from far and near, even down to the shores of Huntsville and Houston. George's band never slowed down for any reason, and contrary to what people had thought, they rose greatly to regional fame, vying for national acts such as the Texas Playboys and Asleep at the Wheel. In what was described as the best opportunity ever, his band was given a chance to record singles meticulously penned by Strait. No one had expected it, but just as it was a surprise, it came out so well that fans wondered where he had kept them so long, even though it never made it past that territory. Singles like That Don't Change the Way I Feel About You and I Can't Go On Dying Like This were among the singles that made it to the independent level with D Records. Strait's passion for music didn't deter him from doing what his father taught him in the past. He managed his family cattle ranch and made some cool cash during the day. For many years, Strait held on to his conviction and continued playing with his band, even though, at the time, there was no real connection with the recording industry. His long-felt resilience finally paid off when he made friends with Irv Woosley, who was a custodian of one of the bars where Strait and his team once played. Irv was not just a musical guru. He had previously held a position of reputation in a major label named MCA Records. Soon, Woosley began spreading Strait's tentacles by telling his friends in his music row good things about his band. Fortunately, they obliged and subsequently came to watch Strait and his band perform some of their hit songs in a venue in Texas. Sadly, they couldn't agree to market the Western sound they had listened to, even though they were impressed by what they heard and saw. In a nutshell, Strait's high hopes of receiving a deal were once again lowered, and this time, it was in the most destructive way. Consistently, he traveled to Nashville in search of greener pastures, but was met with an outspoken no from labels he had thought would help him. At this point, he was tired of everything and, for once, considered giving up his career altogether. Lost in this myriad of thoughts, he was offered a lucrative opportunity to become a cattle pen designer, which he accepted by telling his band that he would be off the scene for a while. However, everything turned for good after a heartfelt discussion with his wife gave him the courage to keep moving. His wife had convinced him to keep his hopes high for just 1 year, and reluctantly, he obeyed her voice, hoping for nothing but disappointment. However, the light of progress shone on him shortly after his encounter with his wife, as he signed a recording contract with a major record label, MCA, in February 1981. In the contract, Strait was placed under probation, pending if his first single did tremendously well in its first outing, an album would be considered useful. Strait, in all of his endeavors, didn't do away with his band, as they played important roles in his life, performing as backup and touring for the now solo career of the country singer. Career peaks. Strait's record label couldn't contain their joy when they noticed that the first single of the now solo artist was doing much more than they had envisioned. In the spring of 1981, the world was blessed with a melodious composition titled Unwound, sung by the highly underrated Strait as an artist of MCA Records. Just as they did not see it coming, it surpassed many milestones and climbed to number 6 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart that year. All protocols went loose as his record label opted to create an album with him, which included the single Unwound on his debut album, Straight Country. 2 other singles were featured by the record label, including Down and Out, a number 16 hit for Strait, and If You Are Thinking You Want a Stranger. From various towns, Strait was branded as the new traditionalist, whose breakthrough was a big shift from the pop-influenced country of that time. In a bid to live up to the status that critics branded him with, Strait released a second album titled Straight from the Heart in 1982, which surprisingly featured the number 1 single of his career, Fool-Hearted Memory. 1983 came with lots of goodies for the country singer, starting with his first appearance at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, featuring headlining star Eddie Rabbitt, who became sick with the flu. Since his appearance at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, he has continually become a regular feature at this mainstream event throughout his glorious career. In 1985, Strait quenched the thirst of hungry listeners with his nerve-calming album, Something Special, which was the 3rd consecutive number 1 album in his career. It was a joy for Strait when he also noticed that one of the songs on his album was featured as a number 1 single. Everyone now recognized Strait's talent as a special gift from the universe, as it never ceased to amaze them how he continued to soar musically. The decade began for the country singer after he released his 10th studio album, Livin' It Up, which featured 2 number 1 hits, including Love Without End, Amen, and I've Come to Expect It From You. It was the talk of the town then, and a popular magazine couldn't resist giving it a positive review. The magazine stated that the album marked a significant shift for the country singer from repeating himself in previous works to producing entirely different materials. Year in and year out, Strait did not fail to keep his bargain in making good music. By 1992, he released another song, Holding My Own. Although it didn't produce a number 1 hit, it held its position in the top 5 twice. In the latter part of 1992, Strait played his first character in the film Pure Country and went on to release the film's soundtrack. Strait never slowed down his pace. He was all about blessing his listeners and fans with good music, and in the following year's releases, he dropped 4 different albums including Lead On, 1994, Blue Clear Sky, 1996, Carrying Your Love With Me, 1997, and 1998's One Step at a Time, all of which charted number 1. On October 3, 2006, he marked his 30th year in the music industry with the release of a new album, It Just Comes Naturally. In 2007, Wrapped reached number 1 on the media-based 24/7 country music charts, giving Strait his 55th overall number 1 single. From January through April 2007, Strait was the headliner of a 23-date arena tour with country music legend Ronnie Milsap and newcomer Taylor Swift. On September 6, 2011, Strait once again garnered acclaim from critics and fans after he released the album Here for a Good Time, which yielded 2 number 1 singles. On April 19, 2015, Strait made a guest appearance at the 2015 ACM Awards. He performed All My Exes live in Texas and his new single, Let It Go. In 2016, Strait was selected as one of 30 artists to perform on Forever Country, contributing to a mashup track of Take Me Home, Country Roads, On the Road Again, and I Will Always Love You, celebrating 50 years of the CMA Awards. In 2018, Strait released a single called Código, after a brand of tequila produced by a company in which he had invested. Awards and musical achievements. Strait, throughout his spectacular career, was not left without an award or lifetime achievement. In fact, he is one of the few living legends whose career has been blessed with several awards and phenomenal achievements. In the 1990s, he was bountifully rewarded for his impact on the country music world, and no one would have denied that he deserved it. In 1985, Strait received 2 different awards from the Academy of Country Music for Male Artist of the Year and Album of the Year from the Country Music Association. Things kept getting better for him, and by 1986, he was back on the award scene again, receiving 3 different awards as Male Artist of the Year, Male Vocalist of the Year, and Album of the Year from the Academy of Country Music and the Country Music Association, respectively. Just when everyone thought he was going to slow down his pace, Strait reclaimed his stance as the country legend of all time by receiving yet another prestigious award. In October 2008, the Academy of Country Music Awards named Strait their Artist of the Decade for the 2000s. This was nothing short of merit, because he had worked so hard to be at this moment. In 2009, he received a Grammy Award for Best Country Album, beating several country musicians whom the world had celebrated at one time. From this point, it was clear that Strait wasn't an ordinary musician, but one whose extent of influence is limitless. In 2024, Strait received the Willie Nelson Lifetime Achievement Award, further solidifying his ideology that there is nothing that is not achievable if you believe and work hard. During his long career, Strait was also a record breaker and record maker as a country musician. As of today, he holds the record for the most #1 singles, gold albums, platinum albums, and multi-platinum albums in the history of country music. His work didn't go unnoticed, as he was certified as the 12th best-selling artist in American history, with career record sales of 70 million in the United States. Personal life and tragedy. Because of George's musical influence in high school, he was loved by many. However, he consciously fell into the arms of his high school lover, Norma Voss, and after their graduation, George, in a bid to secure his long-found love, secretly tied the knot in December 1971. It was a sweet fairy tale for him, knowing that his long-held desire had been removed from his bucket list. That same year, George's invitation to join the United States Army was approved, and soon he was enlisted as an infantryman in that commission. Even while serving as an infantryman, he didn't totally abandon his path in music. While stationed at Schofield Barracks adjacent to Wahiawa, Hawaii, as part of the 25th Infantry Division, George reawakened his burning desire to perform and started performing with an Army-sponsored country music band, Rambling Country. In no distant time, his presence shaped the band into a more superior and energetic one, taking them from a lower strata to a highly sought-after band in Hawaii. Subtly, he began to enjoy the dividends of his hard work, even though, at this time, only part of the world was celebrating his uncommon talent. Shortly after his involvement in the Army-based country band, George and his wife Norma welcomed their first child, Jennifer, on October 6, 1972. He couldn't control his joy and kept being thankful for how quickly things had fallen into place after he wed his beautiful wife. It was a dream come true, and just as he had further envisioned, His music was evidently shaped again from the melodious groove he was enjoying at the time. But the unexpected happened. While fans were still basking in the melody of his third album, he released his fourth #1 album and was recognized as the CMA Vocalist of the Year. However, this enviable life of Strait faced some challenges he had never expected. His 13-year-old daughter was killed in an accidental collision, leaving the singer's family with pain and regret in the latter part of 1986. Although the driver involved was prosecuted, it still didn't change the fact that Strait had to deal with the pain indefinitely. This hurt his musical career, considering the fact that he loved her so much. George, in a bid to heal, didn't grant any interviews or media access for many years, as he avoided being asked any questions related to his daughter's death. In his grief and pain, George was still in control of his performance and overall output. He released 11 straight #1 hits, starting with "Nobody in His Right Mind Would Have Left Her" in 1986 and ending with "Ace in the Hole" in 1989. Confirmation of the rumors. It was a bizarre moment for the country music community when George Strait decided to retire in 2012. Fans at that moment never expected this sudden retirement, and even though it would happen, at least not at that time. Lovers of George's music raised several speculations and concerns. However, as they tried to find answers to their many questions, they found that even with the little they got, it was not in any way better. Faced with disappointment, they began looking for alternatives to George's music. Unfortunately, they were met with the wildest shock ever, even though they had known George Strait was way off this planet. Amid this confusion, a glimmer of hope came when fans began to suggest that George Strait's legacy would be continued by his son, George Strait Jr. It wasn't just a suggestion of futility at the time, because George Strait Jr. had been involved with the honky-tonk of country music on countless occasions, both offstage and onstage. All of this prompted the rumors that have been flying around for a while now, and truthfully, at 44, there is hope again for country music as we confirm it all. As pleasant as George's career was, he did not forget his foundational training in cattle ranching. He loved cattle to the core. Therefore, he went back and forth with the exercise, not just by himself. This time, he brought his son along. For him, this was passed down by his father. And just like a generational train, he passed it to his son, George Jr. To his greatest surprise, his son wasn't just pursuing a career, but was also passionate about cattle ranching and country music. George Strait Jr., also known as Bubba Strait, is not without enviable heights. His life is a colorful blend of music and rodeo. Born on May 14, 1981, Bubba grew up in Texas and attended the prestigious Texas A&M University. Fortunately, during his time in school, he didn't just freelance his way through everything. He had a special love for roping and began to nurture this uncommon talent there. Shortly after graduating from college, he decided to pursue a professional roping career and achieved this by joining the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association. As a professional roper, Bubba toured around the country, participating in and competing in rodeo events. His love for the sport was undoubtedly a hallmark of his early career. Fans and listeners became worried about his father's legacy. Questions began to arise daily. Will he continue his father's legacy as a country singer? Or delve into something else that no one knew about? This question remained unanswered for decades, even though there were traces indicating he would embark on a musical journey. Shortly after retiring from rodeo, Bubba saw the need to shift focus from his initial path and decided to follow in his father's footsteps into the world of country music. He made a name for himself as a talented songwriter and co-wrote a total of about 30 songs, some of which appeared on his father's albums. These collaborations resulted in evergreen songs that resonated with every music lover and will forever be their best collaborations. Some of them include Here for a Good Time, Living for the Night, and Let It Go. This was not the only time Bubba showcased his raw writing talent. His contributions extended across several of George Strait's albums, including Twang in 2009, Here for a Good Time, which was released in 2011, Love is Everything in 2013, Cold Beer Conversation in 2015, and Honky Tonk Time Machine in 2019. His storytelling abilities were not limited to just his music, but also played a key role in shaping some of his father's most beloved tracks. How Bubba fits into his most perfect musical journey didn't come as a shock to anyone, considering that his lineage leaned in that direction. His musical journey took flight at a very young age, and many did not know he was featured on Heartland, the opening song from George Strait's 1992 movie, Pure Country. The bond between him and his father musically became so strong that in 2019, he performed with him at the Houston Rodeo Show, where they sang on stage the ever-fresh song, God and Country Music. Clearly written on the faces of fans watching that moment was the answer to a long, lingering rumor. It was evident that this touching moment highlighted Bubba's vocal talent and the deep bond between father and son, carrying forward the Strait family's musical legacy. His collaborative process with George has not only produced chart-topping songs, but has also deepened the father-son relationship. Bubba's songs often reflect the values and themes that define the Strait family: love, resilience, and authenticity. Bubba Strait met his wife, Tamara, at a San Antonio Spurs game in 2005. Their love for sports sparked their connection because Tamara was a silver dancer for the Spurs at the time. 5 years later, they both decided to take things a bit further, and in 2010, they got engaged, making it official in December as husband and wife. Even though George is a very private person, his wife Tamara, who is quite the opposite, occasionally gives fans glimpses of their life together on social media. Her Instagram posts occasionally capture irreplaceable moments of the couple's love for each other, their family, and the Texas lifestyle they cherish. Bubba and Tamara share 2 children, George Harvey Strait III, born in 2012, and Jillian Louise Strait, born in 2016. From the look of things, it is now confirmed that George Strait's legacy, as it should be, will continue to live on even after he is long gone. Bubba Strait may be George Strait's son, but his life and achievements continue to honor the family legacy while forging his path. This, for sure, cannot be taken away from him. Since he began contributing to country music, he is truly setting the pace for upcoming generations while elongating his father's legacy as a living legend in country music. Bubba is not connected to many things that don't matter, but he focuses on things that reveal his roots in the most straightforward manner. Yes, he exemplifies a true Texan, hardworking, and loyal country music singer whose roots speak louder in the quality and kind of music he occasionally puts out to the public. This is a true confirmation that George Strait Jr. has all it takes to win the hearts of fans and country music lovers with the depth of country music he churns out. This is the best time to support the young country singer. He might be the next big thing in country music. Of course, we can't in any way exalt the musical feat of Strait Jr. over his father's legacy, but there is undoubtedly something special about his choice of music. We now have proof that he will be the star of the moment in the not-too-distant future. What do you think about George Strait Jr.? When did you first know about these rumors of him stepping into his father's shoes? Also, would you say that the 44-year-old man is living up to the standards purported by many rumors flying around? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this.